Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 2023 New Zealand comedy drama Uproar.
What are you? What are you?
Hey, well, I'll tell you what I'm all about here. I am reviewing every movie that has a 100% fresh rating from the critics in chronological order. After I've reviewed them all, I will rank them all from worst to best. This movie, of course, has that 100% fresh rating from the critics and also a 90% fresh rating from the audience. Uproar stars Julian Dennison as Josh Waka, James Rollison as Jamie Waka, and Minnie Driver as Shirley Waka. It takes place during the apartheid of the 1980s, which I know absolutely nothing about. I didn't do any research about it before I watched this movie. I prefer to just put the movie in, watch it, and see if I enjoy it and understand it. I think because I did not understand what the apartheid was, I really suffered while watching this movie because I didn't fully understand Josh's motivations, his passion, what drives him in this movie, and to be honest, I'm not really sure he did either. So Josh is a high school student who is a member of a great rugby family. His brother Jamie was a very popular rugby player in high school. He got injured and was no longer able to play. Their father was also a famous rugby player at their high school, and he passed away, leaving their mother Shirley to raise them as an only child. Now, because he comes from this great rugby family, the principal at the school also wants Josh to play rugby. The principal supports the 1981 Springbok Tour and condemns any anti-protest going on in his town. So Josh does not want to be a rugby player. He feels like he's kind of forced into it because of who he is. But he does it anyway just because he doesn't want to let anyone down, and he wants to kind of prove what his family is, and that his family is this great rugby playing family. So halfway through the movie, I would say maybe a little bit less than halfway through the movie, Josh realizes that he wants to be an actor because his acting teacher has him try out for a play and says that he is not terrible at acting. He says, "I've seen terrible and you are not terrible," which apparently means you're a good actor. So after hearing that praise from his teacher, he decides he wants to be an actor. At the same time all this is happening, his friend is protesting. I believe she is protesting because of the way the Maori people are being treated in their town. Now, Josh is one of the few people in his town with Maori heritage. He's half Maori, half European heritage, and he gets treated very poorly at his school. He's constantly getting picked on, constantly getting bullied, and I believe that's what this protest is supposed to be about. And during the protest, he borrows his teacher's camera and he films the whole thing. And it's supposed to be a non-violent protest, which it seems like it's starting out to be, but the cops then start attacking the protesters, and Josh gets trampled on a bit, and his picture gets put on the front of the newspaper in town because of this big, huge fight that broke out at this protest. Now, because his picture is there, the principal figures out that he went to this protest and decides he wants to suspend him or expel him from school and kick him off the rugby team. Now, Josh's brother Jamie, who is the prized rugby player who got injured, is now the coach of the team, and he says, if you suspend my brother or you expel my brother and kick him off the team, you also lose me as well. Now, there's pretty much this push and pull of Josh not wanting to do rugby and still having to do it anyway, but wanting to act. But then later in the movie, he doesn't think that he's going to be a very good actor and that he can't afford the school that that his coach wants him to get into, and he's not going to get into the school anyway. So there's like this identity crisis throughout this movie with him that I didn't particularly enjoy, and I didn't think the payoff was very good with his identity crisis either. There's also the whole protesting in the movie, which I fully didn't understand because I don't understand the movement that's really going on. So at the end of the movie, basically what happens is Shirley Waka does not want her son to act, and she doesn't want her son to go to acting school because she can't afford the acting school. Now, the acting teacher gives her a video at the end of the movie and says, look, he's not going to get into the school anyway because they won't accept him, but I think you should see this video. It's a very moving video of him acting, talking about his heritage, talking about who he is. So she puts the video in, and she's like moved to tears at how great he is and how he reminds her of her husband. And then she goes and she talks with him and has a talk about how she had a hard time being a single mom growing up, especially in this town that's so divided when it comes to heritage and ethnicity and kind of at each other's throats all the time. But she did the best she could, and she thought that him playing rugby would give him a good future and provide him for what he needed, and that she now sees that his destiny is to become an actor. This is probably the best acting performance in this movie from her, and she doesn't have a lot to do in this movie. I will say Minnie Driver, who plays Shirley, you don't see her that often, but this is a very impactful scene in this movie. She does a fantastic job, and I would say she does the most incredible acting out of everyone. Wasn't a huge fan of Julian. I don't know why. Just wasn't that moving to me. Even when he's acting, when he's supposed to be this great actor, or at least not a bad actor, especially the last scene where he's supposed to really shine, I really don't know what he's talking about. Like, he says, like, who are ya? Who are ya? And I think he's supposed to be talking about who he is in town, or who his people are in town, or who his people are as far as, like, on a world stage. I really have no idea. Like, the last speech, I feel like the last speech in the movie is really supposed to be the one that moves you and, like, really pulls you in, and it's the, like, satisfying part of the movie. It's the big payoff, and I really have no idea what he's talking about. I'm perfectly 100% honest. Like, he's just up there saying stuff, and I don't know what he means. I'm completely lost. So, at the end of the movie, I believe at the end of the movie, he ends up, like, going to acting school and doing the whole acting thing, and he's very happy about it. But that's like the entire movie, basically. I thought the movie was okay. Minnie Driver's performance really is what moved me in this movie. My problem is that when he's doing the protesting, when he's playing rugby, when he's acting, there's just so much going on at one time. I don't feel like they focused enough on like the emotional impacts of everything. They just tried to put like this emotional blanket over everything that's happening all at once, instead of like making each specific thing impactful and emotional. And I just feel like they gloss over everything too much, and it's not, it doesn't strike me, it doesn't hit me hard. There's like no real moving scenes in this movie to me. And I also, like I said, it's because I truly don't relate to this movie at all. I mean, I relate to like the not fitting in part, but there's a scene where Josh talks about, he's talking to his friend, and his friend is also someone who doesn't fit in. And he's talking to her about how she doesn't really know what it's like to not fit in, and he's the one who really is the one who's suffering. And it's like a woe is me type of scene where like, you don't understand what I'm going through. But in all honesty, she's going through a lot too. So it's just, there's no impact there for me, because it just seems like he's like making, like he just seems like he's a woe is me. Things are bad for me. Like, you like. And it's really bad for a lot of different people. So it's like, I really don't think he really grasps what everyone is going through and fully grasps the situation that everyone's going through, and it's all about him. At least that's how I saw it. A lot of this movie, it seems like it's all about him, even though he's trying to say it's about his people and what his people are suffering and going through. I felt like he just felt like he was the center of the world in this movie, and it was just really hard for me to get behind him at all. And at the end of the movie, when the mother really shows her emotion, I really thought, okay, fine, now I have a character who I can get behind. Now I have a character who is relatable. Someone who had to raise her children by herself. Someone who, had a tough time being that single parent who was trying to do the best she could for her children, who thought she was doing the best for her children. These are all very relatable things. I felt like what Josh was going through wasn't at all relatable. It's like he has all these options. He has rugby, he has acting, like that's a really good problem to have, I feel like. And then the whole protesting thing, like, I realize young people, they really want to get behind a movement, and they really want to go out there and they want to protest and be passionate about something, which he didn't seem like he was. He was just kind of there in the fold, which I feel like a lot of people end up, that's what happens when they go out there, they go out there and do something like that. They realize, oh, like, I don't really care about this that much. So I thought that was funny, but this movie just wasn't that impactful to me. I didn't really relate to it at all. I just thought the acting, besides Minnie Driver, I thought the acting was just okay. Didn't think the writing was all that great. I just feel like they were trying to do too much at once. Like when they're trying to do two different interests of his, and then also a protest, and also, I don't know. It was just too much. It was too much to keep up with. It was too much to try to get me to be passionate about, and I just thought it was okay. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. It's a 7.5 out of 10. A lot of that is because of Minnie Driver and her performance at the end, but I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I hope you join me next time when I review a movie called Leroy, Texas. Thank you. Have a great day.